Hello, everyone. Welcome to our first episode of our IG Live sessions for 2022. Super excited to have Jenny joining us today. She's a director at a Fortune 100 company, and we'll be talking about just her career and how she got to where she is today, and also about her journey as a mom. And I see that she is already requesting to join, so we'll see her in just one moment. Know if you can hear me or us, because you know how it is with Wi-Fi. Okay, perfect. Hi, Jenny.
Hi, how are you?
Good, good, good. Nice to see you.
I know, same here. Lots have changed. I haven't seen you in person in over 2 years.
I know. It's been an interesting ride. So, but at least well, you guys don't know this, but we check in sometimes with Jenny. So yeah, at least I'm up to date on on like the virtual part, but hopefully
Yes,
we'll see each other soon in person.
yeah. So had a baby, a second baby, moved, right? Started a new job. So lots has changed, and I can't wait to see you. Hopefully, when the weather's warmer.
Yes, exactly. So where are you tuning in from today?
My home, I knew, well, not so new anymore, but we moved last June. In Monmouth County near Red Bank, New Jersey. We were previously in Hoboken and in a two-bedroom, so we have soon outgrew the two-bedroom, especially during the pandemic. Well, we had a toddler at home, and my mom was coming to visit us during the weekdays to help us with our toddler. And I was pregnant, so yeah. So now we're in a house with a lot more space and have my own office. So all good news.
Yes.
Love it.
Exactly. So at least you have like some space to escape to versus like, constantly hanging out with everyone.
Yes.
Right? Yeah. So to kick off the interview, can you just like let me know like where you come from and let us know a little bit about your childhood? And a question I always like to ask people, like how were you as a kid? And like what was your biggest dream? Like did you want to be like a firefighter, a ballerina, or like a math
Yeah.
teacher? Like what was your biggest dream?
So I'm originally from Beijing, China. Born and raised in Beijing till the age of 9, and I actually came to the U.S. a month prior to turning to 10. At that time, my mom immigrated to the U.S. already, so I kind of came. And honestly, I came in 1991, and at that time, it was really difficult for Chinese citizens to not to immigrate, but just to come to the U.S. And it's not really just going through the visa process in the US is because the government in China, the Communist Party didn't want people to leave China. So I was actually one of the lucky ones to get approved and, to be here in America with my mom. But growing up, honestly, I think I might have told you this before, but I never had a big dream or like I never knew what I wanted to be. I never was like, oh, I want to be like a doctor or a policeman or anything like that. But I always, my mom always told me that I need to work hard. My mom always told me that as a woman, I need to be independent, right? No matter what, I need to hold a job, you know, basically contribute to the family, right? I should never rely on anybody but myself. And my mom is like that. She immigrated to the US on her own and she brought me. And she was a single mom for many years until, now I have my stepfather who's an amazing dad. But my mom is also really, really, she has a really big heart. Like she always had me connect with my biological father, who's still in Beijing right now. And my dad, honestly, he's a great guy. My biological father, he's a great guy. But he never really contributed since moving to America. And back in the early 90s, the exchange rate between US dollar and the Chinese yuan was 13 yuan to one US dollar. And back in the early 90s, people in China, for the most part, worked for government, right? China was still very closed off. It was not until like the late 90s to the early 2000s that China started to expand. And there's much more like corporations and like a little bit of capitalism went into China. But prior to that, everything was government owned. You work for the government provides you housing and everything, healthcare and everything. So, but yeah, now I still, talk to my biological dad, even though he's never even met my girls yet. But hopefully when COVID's better, we will get to go back to China. But yeah, so
Yes.
I never really
And
had a big dream.
sorry to interrupt you, but I can relate like to the to the immigrant life, and I love actually that you post all the time like how you teach the girls Chinese. I think
Yeah,
that's really great. Yeah, I think that's awesome. So you're like
Thank you.
keeping them connected like to the culture, to your culture. Yeah.
Yeah, because when I moved to the U.S., obviously I spoke Mandarin fluently, but I didn't speak any word of English. I remember when I came to the U.S., I flew on my own. I had a name tag with my mom's name and
Same.
address and phone number in case I'm lost. Because there was also, I think, I had a layover in L.A. But I mean, I was like 9 years old flying, across the globe to a different country where I didn't speak any English, and I only knew three lines. My name is Zhao Sifeng, that's my Chinese name. And then I don't speak English, and where is the restroom? These the three sentences I knew coming to America. But a long way since then. But like I said, I didn't have any dreams of a specific occupation, but my mom always told me that I need to work hard, and honestly I tell my husband this, like, my mom just has this control over me that I don't want to do anything to disappoint her, because she's given up like so much for me to be in this country.
Mhm.
So that's the least I can do
No,
for
you're
her.
good. Yeah, and that's so beautiful. Like, I mean, we've talked about this before, and like what I admire about you a lot is that like you have this strong connection to your family, that you always talk about, like every time you talk about your mom and like how she sacrificed for you, like you always have tears in your eyes. We're about to both cry on here. We're going to have a
I know, I'm like, oh,
cry. But I
yeah,
admire that about you. And even like we're going to
thank
talk about
you.
later about you becoming a mom and like how you're trying to translate that into your own family. So I really like, give you so much credit for that, because I feel like in today's world, like families are just like, oh, whatever family, oh, who cares? I'll call my mom like in a month from now, or my dad or my brother, right? But it's like, it's
Yeah,
so important, right?
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And like, I mean, we were also fortunate that my mom, had my stepfather who became like a true dad to me. And, he's also really great with my children, his grandchildren. So I am fortunate. And I remember, moving to the US was a big change. And also knowing my parents were going through a divorce was a big change. Because when I was growing up in China, people don't get divorced. Like, that's not, you don't do that. And I remember,
Yeah.
I was really young. Obviously, I didn't understand much, and I knew my parents were separating. I had a somewhat of a tough time adjusting. Even though my dad wasn't physically here, I know now that I'm adult, I'm a mom, and I'm like, it's crazy to think about. Not crazy, but like I didn't understand what I was thinking, but I did feel that way. But yeah, I mean, I think, my mom's always been there for me, and my stepdad has always been there for me. So it was easy to assimilate back into the
Yeah.
family. So, yeah.
Yes, 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 and like to adjust. So, my next question is, so you obviously like you just mentioned, like I feel like your childhood made you really, really strong. There was like a lot of change happening in your life. Moving to another country is always, a big experience, especially for a kid. So like when you were kind of like growing up and you're going through high school and then college, like going like now into your career a little bit. I mean, I've worked with you. You were my leader at some point, and like you're always just like so strong, and like I loved working with you. Like, how did you go from like college to making the decision of like where you're going to work and what you're going to do? And later we'll talk about like your leadership a little bit as well, like advice.
Yeah. So let me see. So my parents bought me my first computer in high school, and back in the day, like, computers were pretty expensive, and we didn't have a lot of money growing up. So having a computer was like a pretty big deal. And I remember when I first got it, I think there was like a program called, was it Juno? I can't remember. But basically you can send instant messages to each other, but via computer. You're literally saying hi, and you sit, and your friend gets it on his or her computer, and it's like
Oh, it's
just,
kind of like
you know,
AOL and stuff,
it's
like
not,
the
it's
AOL chat.
before
Yeah.
AOL, Justina. It's like before AOL. Every time you send, your modem would make that like sound, like every time you send a message, but it was like magical to us back then, right? Because there was no like text messages or anything like that. So at an early age, I think in high school, I developed a very strong interest in computer, and I created my own website, like jennyzhao.com. So from there, my parents were like, and that was during like the technology bubble, right? And then from there, my parents were like, oh, you should do computer science. But I don't have any interest in programming. I like coding in HTML and etc. to build my own website, because I like the creativity of it. And also because it was like a hobby. Like, it wasn't because I have to study it and it's something I have to do. But my mom, again, has a lot of power over me. She was like, you need a solid degree. Like I wanted to do like internet. I want to do something with business, like business management. I mean, to my mom, that was way too broad. She was like, I don't know what that is. Like business, like what is business? She's like, you need a specific skill. So then in college,
That's like the immigrant mom, right? Like, how are you going to make money? I don't
yeah,
care.
exactly,
Let's make it work.
exactly. Yeah, so my mom's like, I sacrifice, everything to bring you to America so you can study business. I mean, so I studied in college, I majored in economics and then I did study computer science, but not to the extent my mom wanted me to. I don't even think I ever told her that, but I think I'm doing okay. Anyways, maybe I'll tell her one day. And then I also studied in Mandarin Chinese, which was like somewhat of a, I don't think it was really easy because to major in Mandarin Chinese, it was like it would go into Chinese literature, which was really, really complicated, but the beginning classes were easy. But anyway, so I did that. But I also, during college, had an opportunity to work for this company called EDS, called Electronic Data System. The branch of EDS was then bought by Pfizer, not a pharmaceutical, but FISERV, financial services. So when I was I think when I was a sophomore summer, I interviewed with them for a temp job and for a summer job. But then the temp job, after 4 weeks, I was lucky to be converted to a full-time because apparently the guy before me failed his drug test. They did a hair follicle test. So he stays with you for 3 months. Yeah, so he failed his drug test. So I was next in line and I was fortunate to be offered a full-time job. So then I was working full-time and going to school full-time. So I worked from Wednesdays to Sundays from 3:30 p.m. to like 11:30, to 3 to 11:30
Wow.
p.m. So I remember crying to my mom and I was like, I want to quit because my friends were all going out on weekends, Friday, Saturday night, right? Well, I was working and by the time I'm home at midnight, like they're all gone or I'm too exhausted to like get dressed up and go out. But I do think because of that, it made me really appreciate like hard work, and really appreciate the other opportunities that followed, right? So after graduating, I actually went back I was hired by I worked for the same Pfizer again before a different role for a QA role. And then I was there for about 2 years and then moved on. And then I just felt like everybody it was a big company, but people didn't tend to like move around too much. So I felt like after 2 years, I was still at where I was and I wanted to grow. And there just wasn't like much opportunity because people stayed and people didn't leave. Then, so then
Yeah.
I just put resumes out and I remember I interviewed with NICE, not, they are also a credit card processing company. They're like a credit card network company. I interviewed with this company called BankLink. It was a subsidiary of Pfizer. And then I interviewed with American Express. And I remember American Express actually offered me the lowest pay, but after talking to my friends and family and then looking up the company, I decided to go with American Express, and it's by far the best decision that I've made career-wise. And I think right now I've been at MX for we're actually interviewing people to join my team right now, so I've been repeating this, but I've been at American Express for like 14 and a half years now. So September will be my 15-year anniversary, and it's been great. This is I'm currently my fifth role at American Express in risk management, supporting our global advertising and brand management team. So it's been an exciting journey. It took me to some areas that I never thought I would be in risk management, but I think as you work, as you grow, and like I said, I never was a person that I knew what I wanted to be, but I knew I wanted to work hard and make money and provide for my family. And it just led me here, and I feel very blessed and grateful. And also, along the journey, I meet very great people like yourself. Like I remember when I interviewed you to join, the previous team that we were both on, I was so impressed with you. Like you are not, you're very brave. No, I'm serious. You're very brave in that you don't, 9 to 5 work is great. And I tell my friends that I talk to, it's great. And it's very stable. It's very secure. But you do a lot more on the side. And sometimes I think about, what do I want to do? Like if I were, to start my own business, but I don't know. I'm still, I don't know. I'm still like scared about that part. So that's where I really admire about you, and you've accomplished so much. So I hope my girls will be
Oh.
like have more balls than me and go and do something more. MX is great. Don't get me wrong, I love it, but I wish I was more brave. And I think also because I have two girls now, it's just with health insurance and all the other stuff that attached with a corporate job. Um, I'm here. But anyways, yeah.
But yeah, you know what? It's great. And we'll talk about this in a second. But I remember the interview that we had, and I was telling Rahana, who just joined. Hi, Rahana. I remember that like the scariest part to me, it's like you brought me like a lot of like terms and conditions, and you were like, find what's wrong with this. And I was like, oh my God, I just failed this interview. Like, oh, I'm out. I'm so out. I should just walk away right now. And I didn't get it right. And then you still hired me, but I think you were just like testing if I'm going to like freak out or cry or panic or like what's going to
Exactly.
happen, right? So
Yeah.
that brings that's like a good leeway to our like next portion of this chat is that like I met you and you were a leader, right? So like how did you jump from like working for someone and just doing a bunch of tasks to becoming a leader? And I would love for you to touch on your crazy journey at American Express, because when I joined Jenny's team, it was like me and her and like two other people. And then like so rapidly, it grew to like 30 people all of a sudden, right? So then you had
Yes.
levels, you had to hire, people were moving on. And it was just like this, was just like forever in meetings, I remember, forever interviewing. So can you like lead us through that journey of like becoming, someone who works for a company to becoming like a leader and having a team?
Yeah. So, I think for most corporate job, well, for American Express, you start at entry level. Well, I started at entry level as an analyst and was promoted to assistant manager, then manager, then got a role as a senior manager in marketing. And I knew that in order to, like, if I wanted to continue to be promoted and make more money, you had to take on leadership role, a leadership position. So I I'm pretty shy in nature and I'm relatively quiet in nature. Like I'm never the one in a party like pumping my fist or making a scene. Like I'm not like that, right? And I think and it just comes to my personality. And I think so when I took on this leadership role, when you first joined my team, it was a lateral move actually as a senior manager. And at that time, like I can remember a few years ago, right? It wasn't that common that senior manager positions had direct reports. I think MX was just starting to kind of introduce, at least that's what I've seen, started to introduce that. And I thought it was a good way for me to get exposure to people leadership. And it was, and also at the time the team was growing, and it was in an area in like a marketing operations section that I know that I'm really good at. So I'm like, okay, I have a strong background in understanding the processes and what marketing wants to do and dissecting the information. Let me take this on as a people leader. And I remember first taking on the role, my old leader, Carla, love her. She one of the first feedback she gave me is I need to learn how to better delegate because I'm just I'm doing stuff too much, and it comes with practice, right? Because I feel like I was an individual contributor for so long that it was hard for me to give my stuff away to other people to do. But then at the end of the day, like if I don't give it away, I would never sleep.
Yeah.
So
and also like without looking over people's shoulders and really trusting them, right? Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
That's so hard.
Yeah. And like I mentioned, I'm currently actually interviewing folks for a couple positions on my new team too. And they ask like, what kind of leader are you? And I like to say like I'm definitely not a micromanager, and I lead by example. Like I always think back to, okay, when I was in that situation and my leader did ABC, like what I liked, what I didn't like. So, and I tell my team, you need to be transparent with me. If you like something, tell me so I can do more of it. If you don't like something, you gotta also tell me so I can watch what I do, right? So, and then, so when I interviewed for that role as a senior manager, I remember asking too, like, how big is the team growing? Because it was a new team, and I was told maybe 7 or 8. But after a couple of, yeah, but then things change, right? We had reorgs and a couple of reorgs. Within a year, we had a couple of reorgs, and the team just grew. I think in like less than 2 years, in a year and a half, we grew from a team of 4 to like a team of 28. And then we continue to add it on. So I joined my new team, so the team I'm currently on, last June. And by the time I left, that team was already 38 people. So it was definitely pretty insane it was just ongoing interviewing. Like I feel like I was like HR. Like I knew how to process all the documents in our system, how to get people laptops and etc. So it was definitely a great learning experience, and it actually exposed me to a lot of different, like yourself. Like I met a ton of people, and I think I learned a lot from all of you guys. That like for me, growing up, I just thought my 9 to 5 is my job, like my focus. Like I don't deviate from that. But
Mhm.
meeting like folks like you, like you, Justina, it's like you guys do so much outside of work. Like I said, I don't know, maybe one day,
Yeah,
maybe one day, maybe once the girls are going to college and I'm like, okay, you know what, I'm going to do this myself. But we'll see.
yeah,
Yeah.
but it's like, you have to give yourself more credit because, for example, like, when, like me, my role at Amex when we were working together was just like, oh, update this spreadsheet and do something and then like go for a walk and get some coffee with someone. Well, as your role was just like interview, 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 more people, add this, So you were actually like running like a startup in a way because you were growing so rapidly, right? So you also have to give yourself more credit because,
Thank you.
like I just had you probably after work were just like, oh, I just want to sleep. You
I
know what
think
I mean?
I think I actually just had another catch up with someone else from my old team too, right? They were asking how I'm doing. And I told them, I really wish I had more time to get to know people better. I think Justina, I know you because you're one of the first people that I hired when the team was smaller. So then I was able to get to know like you guys in a more personal level. But then the team just grew like crazy and I didn't have time to even get to know people. And I feel like I'm asking like, oh, where do they live? I don't even know basic information. So but now my team is much smaller. Currently I have 2 people on my team and I'm hiring 2 more. So, but I love it. Like we know each other. We have a Slack channel, like, we're a really close knit team. So, but without my previous experience, I don't think I can appreciate my current, role so much.
More, yeah. So what is like some like maybe one or two pieces of advice that you would give to someone that is building a team? Because I feel like I'm learning that right now. Like when you're interviewing someone, like how do you balance between like, oh hey, you have a good personality versus I know you're going to do your job? Because I know that a lot of people that have like small businesses, for example, like that's their biggest problem, just hiring. Like the turnover is so crazy because
Yeah.
they don't have the experience, and you have so much experience because I'm sure you interviewed hundreds of people. So how do you choose like the person? Like what do you
I
look
think
for?
I think it really depends on what you need for the role. So I want to say like most of the roles that I interviewed for were, either entry level or they're not senior level roles, right? So I think it depends, right? If you're looking for like a data scientist, obviously this person needs to have like a degree in this field or experience working in data, right? But for the role that I'm currently interviewing for is a risk management role that's supporting again GABM, right? Global Advertising and Brand Management. And I know the role will entail this person to work with multiple, like a ton of partners, right? Not just in the US, globally, right? We have partners in India, we have partners in all over Europe, in Asia, in Singapore, in Hong Kong, and obviously in the US. In the US, we also have people in Phoenix, Florida, like everywhere, and in
All over the
Canada,
place.
all over. So I know that I need someone who like you don't need to know specific MX like risk management, like any of our regulations or processes. I think that's all like you can learn. But I need someone who can communicate clearly, who can be the liaison and bridge the gap between partners and bring folks along. So I think you have to focus on what's really, really critical for the role, then everything else is icing on the cake, right?
Mm-hmm.
Does that kind
Because
of
I
help?
guess yeah, I guess that's right because it's like the stuff within the company you can teach someone, but you really have to look like what kind of a person they are, right? Like what they're
Right,
communicating with you. Yeah,
right. And
exactly.
for me, like for a role that I know that you have to build relationships with, and now many of us are in a more like virtual status, right? Because many of us work from home now. It's like, I would ask a lot of situational questions, like how would you even build this relationship now that you're virtual? Like maybe you're in Texas, but all of your partners are all over, everywhere else. How do you build this relationship? How do you manage like a difficult partner? Like give us an example when you manage a difficult partner. Like a lot of like situational questions and see how they answer these questions, right? And I know interview is sort of like dating, right? You're just like going on your first date and you're trying to make the best of yourself and you can, fluff up your questions and that's okay. I think we all fluff things up a little bit, right? But I think you should be able to tell if this person is at least authentic at least, the communication still, how style, how do they relay their answer back to you? Does it make sense? Or are they talking in circles? Are they giving the same example over and over again? Or have they experienced the situations that you've asked them? So, and then you just evaluate between all your candidates. I mean, last year the roles that I am hiring for was actually posted last year, but unfortunately we couldn't find anyone, fitting for the role. So we posted again this year because I mean, my team, we were down 50%. We're still down 50%, even though, we're hiring, but we're down 50%. But I mean, ultimately as a leader, you have to make the tough call. Like, do you want to hire someone who might be not right for the role? Then your team will suffer and that individual will suffer, right? Because you're not setting them up for success. So be honest with yourself, be honest with your team. And, frankly, how the interviewer will probably want to come, but then if they're not right for the role, then they're really not set up to succeed.
Yeah, true, true, true. I love that you said that, and it like sounds like your advice is like basically be a good listener and
Yeah.
really listen to what people are saying. And I feel like that's so great because I haven't heard that before. Like, like some people have like all those boxes that they have to check or whatever, but like that's such great advice. Just be a good listener and really hear what people are saying and then like evaluate them based on what you need. So I love
Right.
it. And then, so my little surprise question that just came to my mind is, so what if you hire the wrong person? Like, how do you think about like, oh, I'm going to give them one more chance versus like letting them go?
Everybody makes mistakes. I make mistakes. But I think the first thing I need to see from someone who makes mistakes is own the accountability. You need to own up to your mistake, right? And it's okay. I always tell my team, we all make mistakes, but that's why there's multiple of us that we're all here to get the same job done. If you make a mistake, let's work on it together and see how we can, correct the mistake and how we can learn from it, right? So I think if someone makes a mistake, it's not a big deal to me, honestly. But if you're making the repeated mistakes, then that could potentially be an issue, right? And I like to, for me, and maybe that's why I'm in more of a risk management role, is I like to document, right? It's because at the end of the day, you want to make sure that your message is clearly relayed to the individual that, maybe multiple mistakes are happening. And I like to create a plan because some of some of our team members, this is early in their career, right? So they may not know something. So just be there for them and help them out. But if it doesn't work out, then we have to take more actions.
Yeah.
So we'll have to work with MSHR. But luckily, I think for the most part, in my career journey, I haven't seen many of those. Those come very far and few between. I think most people want to do a good job. They have the right intentions. But as a leader, you kind of just need to understand where they are and help them along. I understand, and also it's a balance, right? If you're someone on your team is a really great communicator, someone from your team maybe is a little bit shy. I remember when I first joined MX, for my first 2 years, my review is I was too quiet, right? And I still like on a personal level, I'm still, like I said, like I'm still kind of shy and quiet. But at work, I try to force myself to speak up more. So it's just like you have to be aware of yourself, be aware of the situation, and do your best and be honest with your leader, with the person that was working with you, that's working for you. Just be honest, be transparent.
Yeah. And I mean, people want you to succeed and people,
Exactly.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And you
for
want
me,
to succeed as well. It's not like, people are out there to get you.
exactly. And for me, like I'm only as successful as my team is. I can't be successful alone if people on my team are not successful, right? So that's why we need to work together to be successful because I'm not doing my team's job. They are the ones that's doing their job. So if they're not successful, no way can I be successful. So it's better to work as a team. And like I said, I think everybody has good intentions. Everyone want to do a good job. So just be transparent and honest.
I love that. I love that. So the next question is we're going to kind of transfer into where you decided to like start a family. So you're having this, successful career at Amex and, you have like 700 people on your team, thousands of interviews. Yes, so that's how it feels like. At what point did you say basically like, you know what, like let me take care of, my personal life now and, start a family? Like, was that a hard decision? Did you just one day like decide to do it? Did you plan for it? If you can talk a little bit about that, that would be awesome.
Yeah, that's an interesting question. I've always wanted a family. Like I'm not the type of person that sees a baby and I'm like, oh my God, it's so cute. I want to hold the baby. I think I had a conversation with you too, and my friends all know that. Like I'll be like, oh, cute baby, but I'll give you the bridal shower. I mean, the baby shower presents, the stuff. But I'm not the type of person that's like very like baby, so cute. I want but I knew I wanted a family. I knew I want to get married. I knew I wanted kids. I personally grew up, I'm the only child because I was born in during a time when China first enforced the one child policy, right? And my mom only has one sister, and her sister only has one daughter, who's my cousin Maggie, and we're very close. She's still in China. She's still in Beijing.
Mm.
Um, so but in the U.S., it's really just my mom and myself, like related, like blood, right? I mean, stepdad, of course. And I always knew that like my plan was never to go back to China. So, my friends and my childhood, well, maybe some of my childhood is China, but for me to grow as an adult has always been in the US. So I
Mm-hmm.
knew I wanted to be married and have kids. And relationship wise, I think it hasn't always been smooth, I think, for most people. But
Most
I
New
think
Yorkers.
it's hard. It's hard, but you have to. I don't, and I think I didn't really, again, I didn't really realize what kind of person I needed or who I was as a person until I was in my 30s, right? I went through a couple like bad breakups. And then I think once I come out of that relationship, I did take a pause for a little bit. Then I started dating again, and my girlfriends know I used to keep like a sheet of guys I went on a date with, and I would say where we went, like, does he have any siblings? Just general information that we talked about. So online dating, and so I did a lot of online dating. So
Mm-hmm.
at least, like when we meet, at least I know, oh, okay, he works here, he has a sister, whatever, right? And I also would also keep tab of my outfits so that I don't wear the same outfit if I was going to go out with him again. But it was, and I did that a lot. I went on a ton of first dates. In the beginning, I think it was, I wanted the guy to take me out to dinner. Then and I want to talk to the guy before I meet them. Then I found out it was like a lot of very, very time consuming. And many times it ends up like, he's not what I'm looking for, or we just weren't a match. And then I just went on, okay, let's meet at a coffee shop. Let's just meet really fast. And like, if we can have a decent conversation, then maybe we'll meet
Did you,
again.
wait, did you just say coffee chat? I love it.
Yeah, yeah,
That's
exactly.
what
Let's
you
just go on a
did.
coffee chat. Like we gotta, yeah, somewhere public, so that I don't get murdered or anything. So I think, so I met my husband when in 2016, and that was a point in my life where I was like, kind of like, I was working in the city. I lived in the city for a little bit, but the city wasn't for me, so I moved back to New Jersey, closer to my parents. Um, and then that summer in 2016, I'm like, you know what? Forget this. I'm not meeting the right people. So I'm not going to stay late at work, after work, and then go on a not so great date, then catch the late train back to New Jersey. So I'm like, if the guy wants to meet me, he can meet me halfway in New Jersey. So yeah, so my husband sent me a message on Match.com. And he didn't have a photo, right? So I ignore everybody without photos. Okay. Then he sent me another message, like I think maybe a couple weeks later, with a photo. He's like, says to me like I actually have those emails. He wants me to delete them, but I'm keeping them forever. So
It's
it's
like
something
a
like
mini
I gave
love
up,
letter,
and then he's like, I posted a couple photos. This is my email. If you want to see photos, like more photos, I can email them to you. So then that kind of started the whole conversation, and that was during like I think it was also like Game of Thrones. We both loved Game of Thrones. Wasn't a fan of last season, but anyways, but the season prior, we liked it. So it was during the Game of Thrones was playing during the time that we met. And I remember talking to him about a lot about Game of Thrones. And then I think we finally met 2 weeks later. We met at Grand Lux in Garden State Plaza, New Jersey. I picked a location, and we had a Saturday noon date because I was saving like prime time Friday night, Saturday night to my girlfriend. I know that I'm gonna have fun. But yeah, so we met for lunch. After lunch, we just walked around the mall, and then when we looked at our watches or our phones, it was 5 hours later, and they went on another date the following Tuesday, and I canceled my other dates for that week. And then we went on another date on Friday. And then that Saturday, I was going to London on a family vacation with my parents. And
Mm-hmm.
when I was in London, and London till now is still one of the best vacations. And I think it's also, even though I went with my parents, but I think it's also because he was like, we were in contact. It was just like such a different relationship. Like we were texting each other all the time, even though there was like a 5 hour time difference, like we spoke every night. And then I came back and the rest was history. And we got engaged on December 20th of the same year. So we dated for like 3 months and 10 days and got engaged and got married the following June. And now, so this, what year is this? 2022. So this would
We
be
don't
our,
know.
yeah, well,
No
this would
one
be our,
knows what
so
year it is right now.
September 10th this year would be our 6 year anniversary from the first day, from our first date.
Mm-hmm.
And we have 2 girls. And I feel like I'm really, really lucky to have found him because I didn't believe in soulmates. I didn't believe that the love you can have for someone that you're not related to could be as like the love I have for my mom. Like I can like the love I have for him is like the love I have for my mom. And he's been great. Like he's super supportive and I feel really, really, really lucky to have found someone like that. And to all the girls out there, I think the message is do not settle. Do not
Yeah.
settle, but be realistic, right? Be realistic, but do not settle. Like there's
Yeah.
someone.
Yeah, I love that. So how did that change basically? Like before, like you were work, go out with some friends, grab dinner. Like, did that like make like a big shift in your life? And I'm sure like you're going to say it was a positive one, but like, how did that shift kind of your priorities? And I'm sure before, I don't know if you did, but you probably like worked till 7 or 8 at some days.
Yeah.
And now you're like, no, I have to be with my girls. So was that an easy adjustment naturally, or did you have to like work
It
on
was
it?
honestly, it was just naturally. It was almost forced because, after I came back from mat leave with my first daughter, she's going to daycare. The daycare closes at 7, so whether I like her or not, unless I don't want her anymore and leave her with her daycare teacher, someone has to go pick her up. So it's forced, right? And then there are times, I go home and maybe I'll work a little bit more. But for the most part, MX has pretty good work-life balance, I want to say, so that it allows me to balance this stuff, right? We all have our bad weeks, we all have our good weeks. But yeah, it's definitely it's naturally forced. Like there was just no, and then now we have 2 girls, it's even more so, right? So now we moved to New Jersey, the daycare at where we're located now, they open at 8, closes at 6. So which forces us to even, drop off. We have to drop them off later, and then pick them up earlier because that's just
Yeah.
when the school schedules are in this area of New Jersey. But luckily, we're working from home, so it's building flexibility. I mean, my husband is returning to work some days in the week, but I really appreciate the flexibility from work.
Yes, yes, yes. I love that. I love that. And I
Yeah.
mean, you're doing so well. So you make it
Yeah.
seem like
And I
effortless,
think,
and I love
yeah,
that whole
and I
social,
think,
social. Yeah.
yeah, and I think you also asked me like about, like my career, how has it changed, right, since the girls. Um, Everyone that knows me, I put my family and girls before anything else. And just naturally, I think for our family, my husband's work is very, very demanding. So he tends to focus more on work, and I am like everything else, including a full-time job and mom and doctor's appointments, like bills around the house. If something's broken, calling the repairman, everything is pretty much me. Um, but I think it's a lot, and I definitely have my days where I am not so nice to my husband. But I think at the end of the day, we both appreciate each other a lot. He knows that when I'm not so nice, it's not really because of him. It's because I may be under a lot of pressure at work. I have like, something to do for work and I just don't have time, or, the girls are just screaming their heads off and it's just making my head explode. So I think at the end of the day, we have a really good understanding of each other, and then we appreciate each other. So it makes everything like, okay. And I think I also have learned a lot from this relationship. Like it's okay to say sorry. Like I had a really, I don't know why, but in my previous relationships, I don't like to say sorry, even though I know I did something wrong or maybe not so right. But I think my husband has also taught me to be more humble and, to recognize that, when I'm wrong, it's okay to say sorry. And I think it was my pride, right, getting the way previously.
Yeah.
So Yeah, so multiple areas that, this relationship or, this marriage and the girls have taught me a ton.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. So the next question is like, how, so for your girls, right? If you can teach them like one lesson from your whole life, like what would you want to teach them? Just about living life, like living a good life.
Yeah, appreciation. I think it really goes back to appreciating, right? Because I feel like no matter how much you can give your children, like Jim and I, my husband Jim and I work hard, right, to save money so the girls, so they can go to college in the future, so that, we can give them more than what our parents can give us. And I hope the girls will continue the tradition when they have their families, they will continue to do that. But I think if they don't know how to appreciate, they won't be able to do that. And I think, for me and Jim, I put myself through college. He also put himself through college. So we really appreciate, everything that our parents have taught us from, to become adults, and also how hard we've worked to get to where we are. So, nothing comes easy these days, right? So, never, ever comes easy. So we just want the girls to know that, like, whatever they have, to appreciate it. Like, don't expect it. Don't expect someone to just accept you. Don't expect someone to just give you a job, to give you this, or provide things to you. We do this for you because you are our babies, but to appreciate it. So I think without appreciation, it's hard to do a lot of the other stuff.
Yes, yes. I love that. I love that. So appreciation and hard work. And I feel like going back to the beginning of our chat is that, you brought that from your own mom. Like, she taught you that. So now you're teaching the girls that, which I love, so like you're continuing all the hard work that she's put in, for you as well. So the next thing is we're going to finish up in a second, but we have some like rapid fire questions for you that are just like fun.
Okay.
And you can just like answer them like really shortly. You don't have to go into too much detail. So the first question is, what is the best compliment you ever received?
Oh my God, rapid fire. I can't remember. I can't remember. I think I really like my husband. Just I know I talk about my family a lot. Sorry guys, but I really do feel this way. I know you can throw up, but yeah. My husband just says my husband just comes over and gives me a hug in the morning. I think it just shows a lot. Or and he just randomly comes and give me a hug. I can't really, I haven't received like a compliment from someone in a long time, I think because of COVID, or, but I think this little stuff, like little stuff around the house, like, because there's so much to manage, like the stuff that, like a little hug in the morning and he kisses me on the forehead. So I think it goes a long way.
Like yeah, that's a compliment too. So yeah, so
Yeah.
I love that. Next question is, what is your favorite room in your new house?
Oh, favorite room. Our family room and our kitchen. So I always wanted a open concept, right? Because we have two little kids. If I'm working in the kitchen, I want to be, I know if we have guests over, I want to be able to, like, everyone can kind of commingle and be together. So I would definitely say in our house is our kitchen leading into our family room. That's definitely by far. And that's where we spend the majority of our days.
I love that. That's awesome. Who is one person that inspires you the most?
My mom. That's like really easy. Because I'm gonna get teary-eyed. I don't know, every time I talk about this stuff. Like,
I
my
love it
mom.
though. That just means that you really, 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 really love your family and you're genuine, and I love it.
Yeah, she gave up everything for me, to come to this country. She worked in restaurants, she worked in laundromats for me to have a better future. So now that I'm a mom, honestly, I don't know if I would be able to move to a foreign country, bring a child with me, not speaking the language, don't have any friends and family, no money to do that. I don't know if I would be brave enough. But so
Your mom.
I'll miss her.
Oh, I love her.
Yeah.
You have to bring her. I want to meet her one
No,
day.
you have to come over this summer and then you'll meet her. She's actually here right now downstairs making us
Oh,
dumplings.
oh, so cute, so cute. Give her a hug afterwards from all of us. The last question is, and I already know the answer. What is your favorite dessert and why?
Oh, of course, ice cream. So my older one actually loves ice cream now too. She just asks for ice cream. We give her a little bit in the morning. I hope her teacher, I don't, I mean, we don't tell her teachers. And it's funny, her dentist is our neighbor, and she needs some stuff done. She has a few cavities. I haven't even got a chance to call the pediatric dentist for that. But anyways, yeah, definitely ice cream. I love ice cream. Ice cream, everything. I remember in my old Match dating profile, my little headline, I think I wrote something like, I eat ice cream for breakfast. And I did. So,
Oh, it's
yeah.
actually true. You guys, I
Yes.
remember when I was on the same team with Jenny, and like every time she went on vacation, like she would show, oh, we would all show pictures, but she'd be like, and this is the ice cream that we got, and this is the place, and this is the flavor. So,
Yeah, I love ice cream.
yeah, if you need any ice cream recommendations, connect with Jenny for sure.
Yes,
And any like
yes.
great career advice. Yeah,
Yeah.
so you know what, as we close off, I don't know if you have any more like final advice for the people who will be watching this, and like where can we connect with you? How can we support you?
Yeah, no, I mean, thank you, Justina, for this opportunity. I really, really appreciate it. This is my first IG Live. Honestly, I was a little nervous, so I hope I did okay. But if anyone has, if anyone's interested in joining MX, if you have any questions or, how to build a career, how to, anything like that, feel free to reach out to me. And it's just, we'll be in touch, and you'll definitely be coming over this summer.
I'm excited. I'm excited. We have to have a little reunion finally.
Yes,
Yes,
yes.
yes. So thank you so much for this. I didn't even notice you were nervous, so you did a wonderful job. And thank you so much for sharing so much about your life and so much great advice. And if you guys are joining a little later or a little late, I'm sorry, can't speak English. I will post the interview like on my profile, so you'll be able to rewatch it. But yes, thank you so much, Jenny. This was wonderful. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. All right. Thanks, everyone, for listening in. Bye.
Thank you. Have a good day. Bye bye.
You too. Bye-bye.